Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets. Today, we're diving headfirst into the fascinating world of consumer robotics and some of the surprising tech behind it. I think you're going to find this particularly interesting given your recent deep dive into AI.
It's definitely a field that's heating up. We're seeing major tech players like Google, Tesla, and even Meta jumping into the ring, all vying for a slice of that consumer robotics pie. It really feels like we're on the verge of a robotic revolution.
Okay, I've been seeing those videos of robots doing things that seem straight out of science fiction, like folding origami or playing basketball. What's driving this sudden leap in capability?
One word, Gemini. It's Google's new AI model specifically designed for robotics, and it's not just about making robots move, it's about making them understand and react to the world around them.
So it's not just about pre-programmed movements anymore.
Exactly. Gemini combines vision, language, and action, allowing robots to learn and adapt in ways we haven't seen before. For example, one of the research papers we have describes how Gemini can enable a robot to learn how to play a simple basketball game just by watching humans play. It's pretty remarkable.
That's incredible. So are we talking about robots helping us with everyday tasks like housework or even healthcare?
Potentially, yes. The applications for this kind of technology are vast aligneds. Imagine robots assisting surgeons in delicate procedures or helping elderly individuals with daily tasks. And of course, who wouldn't want a robot to take care of those tedious chores around the house?
It all sounds very futuristic, but I also remember you mentioning some concerns about AI safety.
You're right. We can't just gloss over the potential downsides. Safety is paramount. When you're talking about machines interacting with humans in the real world, there are concerns about robots malfunctioning, causing harm, or even being used for malicious purposes.
So what's being done to address these concerns?
Well, Google, for example, has developed something called Asimov benchmarks. Essentially, these are tests designed to identify and mitigate potentially dangerous AI behaviors in robots. It's like a safety check to ensure that these robots are operating within safe and ethical boundaries.
That's reassuring. It sounds like there's a lot of thought going into responsible development, which is important.
Absolutely, but safety isn't the only hurdle. The other big challenge is processing power. These AI-powered robots require massive amounts of data crunching to function effectively, and that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where do we go from here?
We need a radical leap in data processing technology, and that's where optical interconnects come in. It's a game changer, really.
I've heard that term thrown around a lot lately, optical interconnects. Can you break it down for me? What are they and why are they such a big deal?
Think about it this way. Our current computers rely on copper wires to transmit data between processors, but optical interconnects use light instead of electricity.
It's like fiber optic internet for our devices.
Exactly. It's a massive upgrade in terms of speed, bandwidth, and energy efficiency.
Okay, now I'm starting to see the connection. Faster data transfer means faster processing, which means more powerful and capable AI. And that's exactly what's needed to push consumer robotics to the next level.
You got it. And it's not just about speed. Optical interconnects also consume significantly less energy, which is crucial for both sustainability and for creating robots that can operate for longer periods without needing to be recharged.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So who are the major players in this optical interconnect space? Are we talking about the usual suspects like Google and Microsoft?
They're definitely involved, but there are some surprising contenders as well. Companies like Celestial AI and Light Matter are attracting massive investments and developing some truly groundbreaking technologies.
Okay, I'm curious about these companies. Tell me more what makes them stand out.
Celestial AI is developing something called a photonic fabric, which is essentially a network of optical interconnects that can be integrated into existing computing systems. They just secured a whopping $250 million in funding from investors like Fidelity and BlackRock. That's a serious vote of confidence.
Wow, $250 million. They must be onto something big. What about Light Matter?
Light Matter is another rising star. They're focusing on building optical processors that use light to perform computations directly, potentially bypassing the need for traditional electronic processors altogether. And get this, they recently raised $400 million in their Series D funding round, pushing their valuation to an incredible $4.4 billion.
That's incredible. It seems like the investment world is betting big on optical interconnects. What does this mean for the future of computing, not just for robots, but for everything?
It's potentially revolutionary. We're talking about a future where our smartphones, laptops, and even data centers could be powered by light, leading to unimaginable speeds and capabilities. Imagine downloading a full-length movie in a matter of seconds or running complex simulations in real time. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It definitely sounds like we're on the cusp of something big. But before we get carried away with all this talk of robots and light-speed computing, I want to bring it back to something you mentioned earlier, the potential downsides of AI. Are there any ethical considerations we should be thinking about as this technology advances?
You're absolutely right to raise that point. The ethical implications of AI, especially as it becomes more powerful and pervasive, are immense. We need to be having serious conversations about things like bias in algorithms, the potential for job displacement, and the need for transparency and accountability in AI systems.
I agree. It's important to have these conversations now before these technologies become so deeply embedded in our lives that we can't undo the potential negative consequences.
Exactly. We need to be proactive, not reactive. And speaking of proactive, there's another interesting angle to this whole optical interconnect story, and it has to do with national security.
National security. I'm listening.
The rapid progress in optical interconnects, particularly in the U.S., has caught the attention of lawmakers. They're starting to see this technology as strategically important, especially in the context of competition with China.
I see. So it's not just about commercial applications. It's also about who has the technological edge on the global stage.
Precisely. The U.S. is concerned about China's advancements in a related field called silicon photonics, which is a key technology for developing optical interconnects. It's almost like a new space race, but this time it's about who controls the future of data processing.
This is fascinating. So we're talking about a potential paradigm shift in the tech world, driven by advancements in AI and optical interconnects, and with major implications for the global balance of power.
Exactly. And it's all happening right now, right before our eyes. It's a truly exciting and potentially pivotal moment in technological history.
Well, this deep dive has certainly opened my eyes to the possibilities, and I'm sure it's done the same for you listening. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at some of the specific advancements in consumer robotics that are driving this excitement. You mentioned robots playing basketball and folding origami, but what are some other examples of how these robots are being used in the real world?
There are some really interesting developments happening in fields like healthcare manufacturing and even home assistance, for example. One company is using robots powered by AI to help surgeons perform minimally invasive surgeries, allowing for greater precision and faster recovery times for patients.
That's incredible. So robots are literally assisting with life-saving procedures.
Exactly. And in manufacturing, robots are being used to automate complex tasks, improving efficiency and productivity. And of course, we can't forget about the home robots, which are becoming increasingly sophisticated. We're starting to see robots that can do everything from vacuuming the floors to folding laundry to even interacting with children in educational ways.
It sounds like robots are becoming increasingly integrated into our daily lives. But what about the potential for job displacement? Are robots going to take over all our jobs?
That's a question that a lot of people are asking, and it's a valid concern, but I think it's important to remember that technology has always disrupted the job market. The key is to adapt and to focus on developing skills that are uniquely human, like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
That makes sense. So it's not about fearing the robots, it's about finding ways to work alongside them and to leverage their capabilities to improve our lives.
Exactly. And I think we're already seeing that happen in many industries. Robots are taking over repetitive and dangerous tasks, freeing up human workers to focus on more creative and fulfilling work.
That's a positive way to look at it. So while there are certainly challenges and concerns associated with the rise of robots, it seems like there's also a lot of potential for good.
I agree. I'm optimistic about the future of robotics. I think these technologies have the potential to make our lives easier, safer, and more fulfilling.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of consumer robotics and the technology that's powering it. We've learned about Gemini Google's groundbreaking AI model and the transformative potential of optical interconnects. We've also explored the ethical considerations and the national security implications of these advancements. It's clear that we're on the cusp of a new era in technology, and I, for one, am excited to see where it takes us.
I share your enthusiasm. The possibilities are truly endless.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground for today. I'm sure you listening at home are processing all of this information as well.
It's definitely a lot to take in, but that's what makes this field so exciting. There's always something new to learn and explore.
That's a great point. But before we completely wrap up, there's one more company I want to touch on that's playing a surprisingly significant role in this whole robotics and AI landscape.
Porsche. The car company.
You heard that right. Porsche is making some intriguing moves in the tech world, particularly when it comes to supporting the development of optical interconnects. They've made a strategic investment in a company called Celestial AI, which we discussed earlier.
That's right. I remember mentioning their photonic fabric technology. It's interesting to see a company like Porsche, known for its high-performance vehicles, diving headfirst into the world of advanced computing.
I agree, it's not exactly what you'd expect from a luxury car manufacturer.
It seems like they're recognizing that the future of transportation is inextricably linked to advancements in AI and computing power. After all, self-driving cars are essentially robots on wheels.
That's a great point. So Porsche's not just investing in optical interconnects for the sake of it. They're seeing it as a strategic move that could give them a competitive edge in the future of mobility.
Exactly. And their investment in Celestial AI is a testament to their belief in the transformative potential of this technology.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up part one of our deep dive into consumer robotics and the surprising tech behind it. We've covered a lot of ground today, from Google's Gemini AI to the rise of optical interconnects and the unexpected involvement of companies like Porsche, but this is just the beginning.
In part two, we'll delve deeper into the world of optical interconnects, exploring the science behind this groundbreaking technology and discussing its potential applications beyond robotics.
And we'll also touch on the growing global competition for technological supremacy, with the US and China vying for dominance in this new era of innovation.
It's going to be a fascinating discussion.
I agree. So be sure to join us for part two of this bite-sized tech deep dive, where we'll continue our exploration of the cutting-edge technologies that are shaping our world.
Welcome back to Byte-Sized Tech. I'm eager to unpack the science behind optical interconnects. It's a mind-boggling concept, even for someone like me who's immersed in the tech world.
I know, right? We touched on it briefly in the last part, but let's really break it down. You mentioned that it involves using light instead of electricity to transmit data.
Yeah.
How does that actually work?
It's all about harnessing the power of photons, those tiny particles of light instead of electrons traveling through copper wires. We're talking about photons zipping through fiber optic cables, and since light travels much faster than electricity, we're talking about a significant boost in speed.
Okay, so we're essentially replacing those tiny copper pathways on a microchip with microscopic fiber optic cables.
You got it. It's a massive feat of engineering, shrinking down those light-transmitting fibers to a microscopic scale and integrating them into the very heart of our computing systems.
That's incredible. But I'm curious, why haven't we been using light for data transmission all along? It seems like a no-brainer, given the speed advantage.
It's not as simple as it sounds. There have been technical challenges to overcome. For one, generating and controlling light at such a small scale is incredibly complex. And then there's the issue of converting those light signals back into electrical signals that our devices can understand.
So it's not just about replacing copper with fiber optics, it's about rethinking the entire architecture of how data is processed and transmitted.
Exactly. It requires a whole new set of tools and techniques, but the potential benefits are so significant that companies are pouring billions of dollars into research and development.
And we're already seeing some impressive results.
Right?
You mentioned companies like Celestial AI and Light Matter making major strides in this field.
Absolutely. Celestial AI's photonic fabric, for example, is designed to seamlessly integrate optical interconnects into existing data centers. It's like giving those data centers a massive speed boost without having to completely overhaul their infrastructure.
That's a game changer for industries that rely on massive data processing like finance, healthcare, and scientific research.
Exactly. And Light Matter is taking a different approach, focusing on developing optical processors that use light to perform computations. Directly imagine a computer chip that processes information at the speed of light.
That's almost beyond comprehension. What are the real-world implications of this kind of processing power?
It's hard to even fathom the possibilities. We could see everything from ultra-realistic virtual reality experiences to AI-powered medical diagnoses that happen in real time, to scientific simulations that could unlock the mysteries of the universe.
It sounds like we're talking about a fundamental shift in what's possible with technology.
I think that's a fair assessment. Optical interconnects have the potential to unlock a whole new era of innovation, not just in computing, but across a wide range of industries.
It's exciting and a little bit daunting at the same time. All this talk about light-speed computing and AI-powered robots makes me wonder about the role of humans in this future world.
That's a valid question, and it's one that we'll be grappling with for years to come, but I believe that humans will always have a crucial role to play even as technology advances.
I'm glad to hear you say that. What do you see as the key skills or qualities that humans will need to thrive in this tech-driven future?
I think creativity Critical thinking and adaptability will be more important than ever. We need to be able to think outside the box to solve complex problems and to constantly learn and evolve as technology changes.
So it's not about competing with machines. It's about finding ways to collaborate with them and to leverage their capabilities to augment our own.
Exactly, and I think that's where the real potential lies. Imagine a future where humans and machines work together, each contributing their unique strengths to solve some of the world's most pressing challenges.
That's a vision I can get behind. But as we move towards this future, we need to be mindful of the potential risks and challenges.
Absolutely. We need to be having serious conversations about the ethical implications of AI, the potential for job displacement, and the need for regulations and safeguards to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly.
I agree. It's not enough to simply marvel at the technological advancements we need to be thoughtful and intentional about how we develop and deploy these technologies.
Well said. And speaking of deployment, there's another aspect of optical interconnects that we haven't discussed yet, and it has to do with sustainability.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. How does that tie into optical interconnects?
One of the major advantages of using light for data transmission is that it's incredibly energy efficient. Traditional copper wires generate a lot of heat, which wastes energy and requires elaborate cooling systems. But optical fibers transmit data with minimal heat loss, which means less energy wasted and a smaller environmental footprint.
So not only are optical interconnects faster and more powerful, but they're also greener. That's a win-win in my book.
Exactly. And this is particularly important as the demand for computing power continues to grow exponentially. We need to find ways to make our technology more sustainable, and optical interconnects offer a promising solution.
I'm starting to see how optical interconnects are truly a game changer. They're not just an incremental improvement over existing technology. They represent a fundamental shift in how we think about computing.
I agree, and it's a shift that has the potential to reshape our world in profound ways.
Well, this discussion has certainly given me a lot to think about. I'm starting to see those sci-fi movies about robots and advanced technology in a whole new light.
It's not so far-fetched anymore.
It really isn't. The future is closer than we think.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive. We've delved into the fascinating science behind optical interconnects, explored their potential applications, and touched on some of the ethical and sustainability considerations.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to explore.
Exactly. In part 3, we'll shift our focus to the geopolitical implications of these technological advancements. We'll discuss the growing competition between the US and China for dominance in the tech world, and we'll explore the potential risks and opportunities that this rivalry presents. It's a topic that's both fascinating and a little bit unnerving, but it's one that we can't ignore.
I agree. So be sure to join us for the final part of this bite-sized tech deep dive, where we'll continue our exploration of the cutting-edge technologies that are shaping our world. Welcome back to Bite-Sized Tech. We've talked about the amazing advancements in AI and optical interconnects, but as promised, we're going to shift gears now and look at how these technologies are playing out on the global stage, specifically the growing rivalry between the US and China.
It's a fascinating dynamic. On one hand, you have these two economic giants pushing the boundaries of innovation, which is incredibly exciting for the world of tech. But on the other hand, there's a growing sense of competition, almost a sense of distrust that's adding another layer of complexity to the situation.
It feels like the stakes are getting higher than ever before. It's not just about economic dominance anymore. It's about who controls the technologies that will shape the future. Like AI, quantum computing, even things like biotechnology.
You hit the nail on the head. Technological leadership is increasingly seen as essential to national security and global influence. The U.S. has long held the position of global tech leader, but China is rapidly catching up, pouring massive resources into research and development.
We touched on this earlier with the U.S. government's concern over China's progress in silicon photonics, a key technology for optical interconnects. It really highlights how these seemingly niche tech advancements can have far-reaching geopolitical implications.
Absolutely. The U.S. is particularly concerned about China's ambitions in AI. There's a fear that China could leverage its vast data sets and computing power to develop AI systems that could surpass those in the West, giving them a strategic advantage in everything from military applications to economic forecasting.
So are we headed towards a full-blown tech Cold War? Is this competition inevitable?
It's a complex question, and there are no easy answers. Some experts believe that a certain level of competition is healthy. It drives innovation and pushes both sides to strive for excellence. But the key is to ensure that this competition remains within certain bounds. that it doesn't escalate into a zero-sum game where one side's gain is inherently the other side's loss.
That makes sense. So what are some potential paths forward? How can the U.S. and China navigate this rivalry in a way that benefits both countries and the world as a whole?
Well, one approach is to focus on areas of cooperation, even as competition continues in other areas. Climate change, for example, is a global challenge that requires international collaboration. The U.S. and China, as the world's two largest emitters of greenhouse gases, have a shared responsibility to work together to address this issue.
That's a good point. Focusing on shared goals could help to build trust and establish a framework for constructive engagement, even if there are disagreements in other areas.
Exactly. Another approach is to promote open dialogue and communication between the two countries. This includes not just government-to-government discussions, but also exchanges between researchers, academics, and business leaders.
That sounds like a recipe for fostering understanding and reducing the risk of misunderstandings that could lead to escalation.
Precisely. The more we can understand each other's perspectives and concerns, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this complex relationship.
This has been a really insightful discussion. It's clear that the world of technology is becoming increasingly intertwined with geopolitics, and it's something that we all need to be paying attention to as listeners. We might not be able to directly influence these global dynamics, but we can certainly stay informed and engage in these conversations.
I agree, and I think it's important to remember that even amidst all this talk of competition and rivalry, there's still a lot of room for optimism. Innovation is happening all over the world, and the potential for technology to solve global challenges and improve lives is immense.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining me on this Byte-Sized Tech Deep Dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the mind-boggling world of AI and optical interconnects to the complex dynamics of the U.S.-China tech rivalry.
It's been a pleasure. Always enjoy these conversations.
Thanks for tuning in, Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.